Hey, Holy Trinity family. We wanted to check in with you, see how you're doing, talk a little bit about marriage today. We know not everyone's married. Some are at home alone, but many of you are at home with spouses, some with children, and you're honestly starting to go a little stir crazy. We want to just check in, talk a little bit about what we're experiencing at home, hopefully give you some things to think about and to do as we walk out these days of quarantine together. The first observations that I just wanted to share is that during this season, it's incredibly important to be honest with yourself about your own patterns of sin. This is not particularly fun, but it's extremely helpful when it comes to keeping a healthy marriage. One of the things I've noticed in myself is that for some reason during this season of quarantine, my patience is incredibly thin. So I know that if my patience starts to wear and I'm going to snap at Alysia or one of the kids, I need to step out of the situation, cool off, go outside, take a break, walk around the block, do something to deal with the fact that I just have very little patience. It's a simple thing, but it's all about being aware of yourself and in good conversation with God about what's going on inside of you. Another thing that helps just on this side of things is praying for your spouse. This may seem incredibly obvious, but if you're not praying for yourself, if you're not praying for your spouse, it's impossible to have a healthy marriage. One of the things that I have found in praying for Alysia during this time is that as I've sat with the Lord and prayed for my wife and prayed for long days at home with kids. I'm typically at the church in the office all day, and she's home managing homeschool and virtual school with 4 kids. As I've had to imagine her reality, it's really helped me in my prayer. And as I've prayed for her, it's helped me understand what she's experiencing. And I think, to be a little bit more sensitive to her and her needs. So 2 very practical things. Be honest with yourself about your own sin patterns. You are not the best version of yourself right now, most certainly. Be honest with yourself, and then learn to pray for your spouse and get to know them better through prayer. What have you been thinking about?
Well, something I have realized in the last 5 weeks, I guess it's been since we've been at home, is that as the only other adult in our home, it's easy to blame the stress that I feel on John. And so I've had to remind myself that it's not his fault, that the coronavirus is not his fault. And that
So we talked about this beforehand, and I had no idea that it was conceivably could have been my fault.
But all the low grade tension and stress of just this season of uncertainty and of a change in pattern, and certainly of long days at home with the kids, my tendency is to take things out on him because he's the only one I'm interacting with who's under the age of 18. And so
I'm over the age of 18.
Right.
Just in case.
18. So it's just a good reminder to myself that the stress that I'm feeling is not anybody's fault, really. It's just the brokenness of the world. And I think to go along with that, with John's point about praying for your spouse, and also trying to be sensitive to his long days and asking the question often, what do you need? So, both of us have long days in one way or another in different ways, but I always want to be sensitive to what he needs at the end of the day when he gets home. And even if it's just a 10-minute turn around the neighborhood, sometimes removing ourselves from the stress of the day together and really processing what's been going on in our hearts is really helpful. And it's a good way to release and to give back to the Lord the things that are not really ours to carry.
I'll say, so Alysia taught me how to do this. And I don't remember when, but it's been quite a long time now. Alysia started asking me regularly, what do you need today? And it was usually when I had a day off, or we were home together, or we were doing something as a family. And it was so freeing to actually think about, oh gosh, what are my hopes? What are my expectations for the day? Being able to, and being invited to share them with her, and having her prioritize those things. But then it taught me to ask her the same question. She did remind me that she was the first to start this, and she was. But now we've learned this pattern, what do you need today? What are your expectations? Do we need to prioritize food, exercise, time together, time with kids, time alone? And it's just been it's been such a huge help to be able to have that conversation early in the day when we're together.
Another thing that we've been processing together is just this season of being at home and being asked to stay at home. It feels like, for me certainly, and I think for you in different ways, the days are really long. So by 3 o'clock, it feels like I've had a whole week of school, even if it's just been one day. And my first tendency might be to feel hopeless or like this is just never going to end. But then if I step way back, I realize that this is a season, a very short season, where we've actually been asked to stay at home with those we love the most and with our families. And so the days are long, but the season will be short, I think, if you look at the scope of a lifetime. I don't know how many days or whatever the coronavirus stay-at-home order will stay in place, but it's actually a gift in some ways if we can embrace it as a gift, to be encouraged to spend time with those who are closest to us. And to work on our marriage together, and to find new ways to relate to one another and new ways to relate to our children. So if I can just think about the season being short and the days being long, then that is an encouragement, just in a real practical way.
One last practical thought is that you can still have a date night even when you're stuck at home. So we had date night the other night. We picked up takeout. We had candlelight dinner out on our back deck. I was sneezing halfway through because of pollen.
The kids were in the window. The
kids were spying on us through the window, but we were able to set aside special time just for us. So if you're home with kids, if it's just the two of you, you can still create special time and space to take care of each other, to be interested in each other, and to have a good time together. So that's enough from us. Just know we love you, we miss you, we're praying for your marriages, we're praying for those of you scattered far and wide, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.